Episode 71. You know those people who are just naturally good at certain things? Doesn't that just like drive you insane? For me, it's more of an annoyance when you're able to just witness someone who just has like this innate ability to excel at something. And it can be anything. I mean, it can be like athletic abilities, test taking skills, or even like a creative eye, just being able to like see the world from a different artistic point of view. And for me, it's always so much easier to spot this in other people than it is for myself. For example, this week, one of my friends mentioned that he recently got a camera because he's really like into cinematography and he thought this would be like a good first step to get into it. And currently, like he couldn't be more removed from that space. Like he's not in a creative like career or anything like that. But just knowing him, I know he's going to just fucking like thrive at this because he just has this natural instinct for like style and design and like film and music. And I have no doubt, like if this dude just wanted to make a complete career shift and become like a director of photography in 10 years, like he could totally do it. When I look back at like myself though, I honestly don't feel like anything has ever really come naturally for me. I am a terrible test taker. If I ever wanted to be decent at like a sport, it always took me months of getting like my awkward, uncoordinated body to cooperate. Was never gifted like musically in any sense. And I can go like on and on. But this led me to question why some people are naturally better at certain skills or abilities compared to others. Upon my research, though, I found that there are 5 key reasons for this. It's a combination of innate cognitive abilities, personality traits, physical attributes, early life experiences, and your motivations and interests. And depending on this unique combination, you will be quote unquote naturally gifted at certain things. So being the just weirdo that I am, I then examined each one of these line items on a personal level and asked AI to tell me if I have any unknown kind of natural skills or abilities that I'm just not aware of. I put my same little write-up that I'll talk about in a few minutes into 2 different search engines, and actually I got really similar answers, so I thought that was pretty interesting. But first, let me define kind of each one of these 5 key reasons why people are naturally good at things. Then I will go into my own. First, innate cognitive abilities. It says people are born with varying levels of innate cognitive abilities like intelligence, memory, spatial reasoning, etc. These natural aptitudes predispose some individuals to excel at specific mental tasks more easily than others. Next are our personality traits. It states that certain traits can give people an advantage in developing particular skills, which to me makes total sense. The third reason is our physical attributes. This includes all of our physical characteristics like height, weight, ethnicity, as well as things like our hand-eye coordination and reflexes. At number 4, we've got early life experiences. And the reason early life experiences are important is because your upbringing can have this big impact on the development of your abilities as well. For example, did you have siblings? Were you social as a kid? What were your parents like? Things like that. And finally, we have motivation and interest. And this one says we tend to naturally gravitate toward and excel at the things we find intrinsically rewarding and enjoyable. And this will play a big role in honing our skills over time. So now that we've covered these 5 reasons, I'll give you guys an example of what my responses were like on a few of these so that you'll have a better insight, I guess, as to what type of responses I provided for AI. So when I was describing myself for AI for the innate cognitive abilities section, I wrote the following. I would define myself as a logic-based person. As far as intelligence goes, I had a 3.8 GPA score in high school, but I only scored a 22 on my ACT exam. I'm a graduate of the University of Nevada, Reno, and have a BS in Business Administration and Marketing. The classes I performed best at throughout my academic career were English, history, psychology, or a variety of art classes. The classes I tended to struggle in a bit included science or math. If I were to define myself, I would be much more of a street smart person rather than a book smart person. So that's kind of what I have there. But I'll give you guys one more example of my 5. So for the personality traits, I decided to list off 10 personality traits that I'd use to describe myself. By the way, if you ever are asked, think of 10 words to describe yourself on the spot, like in an interview setting, wow, is this a difficult question to answer? By like numbers 5 and 6, you really start getting like stuck and you just forget like all your words in general. And then you can't remember the ones that you previously said. And you have to keep everything straight in your brain by like counting on your fingers. And then you just look like an idiot because you don't want to like lose count or only give off like 9, or you don't want to give like 11, right? It's a very stressful situation. But I've been in a handful of interviews for other people where this question has been asked. And my absolute favorite thing that some people do is use the 10 words in a sentence. For example, they'd be like, I am a funny guy and am a team player. And you're like begging your internal dialogue just to hold your shit together as you politely like restate the question, because obviously this was not the appropriate response that I was looking for. But like you have to give them the benefit of the doubt, I guess, because interviews can be like someone's worst nightmare. But that is like the total wrong interpretation of this question. But anyways, after much thought, the 10 words I used to describe myself were sensible, observant, reflective, competitive, cynical, stoic, conscientious, witty, reliable, and punctual. But now that you get the gist, I will skip forward to the rest of the responses that I gave and just get to the good stuff, the things that AI thinks I might have a natural, innate ability to exceed at. And like I said, I put this into 2 different systems and got pretty similar answers, which was cool. So I'll go over the top 3 that I got. First, we have creative problem solving. The responses stated that because of my academic background and the subjects that I performed well in, it hints at a capacity for creative thinking and problem solving, especially in non-technical domains. For me, this feels very on par, I guess, with my career up to this point. But I never viewed it as a natural or innate skill to solve issues. I've worked solely at advertising agencies, and regardless of the positions that I've been in, it feels like 99% of the time, my job is just to put out fires. And the majority of the time, I'm strapped for time, personnel, resources, money. I can go into work one day thinking like, okay, I have everything laid out, like my plan. But within the first hour, it can all just go to hell and just be completely derailed. So then my job turns into how can I solve X issue as fast as possible because I need to get back to my actual work. Then you put out that fire and then immediately you get like pinged about something else and then you just do it all over again. The second part to this response, though, said that I'm likely to excel in roles that require strategic thinking, analyzing trends, and crafting persuasive narratives, which is essentially the exact role of a social media manager, which I have been for years now. But this is a good segue into my second supposed natural skill, which is content creation and cultural analysis. The response said, it appears that I have a natural aptitude for written and verbal communication, which could extend to skills like content creation, storytelling, and persuasive writing. It also stated that my observant and witty personality traits likely enhance my ability to connect with an audience, and then my ability to connect different ideas and see the bigger picture would serve me well in marketing strategy, content creation, and campaign management. So hearing that, that's encouraging, right? The only thing I think that I really struggle with here is the storytelling aspect. I personally really respect people who can tell a good story, and I don't think that that is me. They've got their timing down. They don't linger too long on certain things that are aren't relevant to the story. It's almost like a performance. And when you watch a good storyteller in action, honestly, it's a pretty impressive sight to see, I think. There's one person in particular in my life who pops into my head when I think of a storyteller, and they're just someone who you can never get bored of. For myself, especially in a group setting, and my anxiety is through the roof, and I'm just telling myself to just hold on to my drink and get a question queued up in my mind to ask someone if needed. And when it comes to content creation, I honestly do enjoy it, but there are so many people who I think are so far ahead of me, miles ahead of me. So it's hard to think that I could have a natural aptitude for it, I guess, when I compare myself to them. Lastly, my final innate ability, according to AI, is mentoring or coaching. My previous experiences, as well as my competitive nature and interest in self-improvement, suggest that I might have a natural ability to motivate and guide others in personal or professional development. Now, I have never coached anything in my life. I do think the idea of mentorship is super interesting, though. I think it's Scott Galloway who speaks on the lack of mentorship in today's society, which I found pretty interesting. And it's because of factors like the rise of remote working, and people have their heads buried in their phones, right? So nobody actually wants to like hold a conversation, which I agree with. I think the average person really doesn't want to deal with the stress associated with opening up and having a meaningful conversation, because it's a difficult thing to do. And 9 times out of 10, I'm right there with them. But if I were to ask someone to like mentor me right now, I think my initial thought would, like, I would feel like a massive inconvenience for someone. Like, do they really want to be using their free time to, I don't know, try to help me and deal with my shit? Anyways, definitely an interesting take. Maybe if I have like a kid one day, I will see if I truly have a natural skill of coaching. It does sound enticing, though. I'm a very competitive person, so whatever it is, like, we're doing, if you're on my team, be prepared to do what it takes to win. I'll say that. To wrap up here, though, you know the saying, a jack of all trades and a master of none? Well, that has always like been like how I describe myself. I feel like with a solid amount of effort, I am pretty good at a lot of things. But I've always wondered, like, what if I was really good at just one thing? However, I recently learned that, in fact, is not the full quote. And maybe, I guess after this discussion, I'm looking at this the wrong way. But the full saying is, jack of all trades, master of none, though oftentimes better than master of one. So, yeah, I'll leave you guys with that. Thank you for listening, and I'll talk to you next week.